So this is now the story. So the woman came into the picture, and Adam had been given instructions: do not eat from that tree. You can do anything else you want, but from that tree alone, you shall not eat. And he was like, okay, I will not eat from that tree. But the woman came into the picture. She was like, hey, Adam, come here. I found a very nice fruit, and I was told by this snake that this fruit is nice, and this fruit will help us with our diet. Adam was like, no, but you were told not to eat. He was like, hey, don't be a weak little bitch. Are you listening to me or to God? Do you want this punani or not? Because if you cannot listen to me, I will withdraw the punani from you. Adam is like, shit, I have to go back to fucking porcupines. My stomach cannot handle it anymore. I have too many holes in my stomach. I'm done fucking porcupines. Okay, so we eat the fruit. But there's nothing that will happen to you. This God of yours doesn't know shit. So the God, Adam was like, okay, let's eat. They ate the fruit. And immediately God comes into the picture. Poof. The fuck you guys have done? Oh, this woman that you gave me is the one who told me to eat the fruit, and I ate the fruit. And God is like, you puny ass. I gave you instructions directly. You couldn't control your woman. And it's the woman that you wanted. No, it's the woman you gave me. Oh, fuck you, man. Fuck you. Oh, you're telling me fuck you? I'm throwing you out of the garden. You and this crazy bitch of yours. Never come back. That's my version. That's my version. That's my version of events. And now Adam was told, oh, you're going to work like a donkey to make anything. Oh, you're going to till this land, you puny ass who can't follow simple instructions from your God. Now you've made the woman your God. And the woman, I shall increase pain of your childbirth. You shall forever be in pain every time you think of giving birth. And not just that, your desire shall be for your man. You shall desire to have a man in your life. Hey, have you seen how these bitches celebrate when they are at the wedding or they've just snagged up a man and they are celebrating? You'd think they've won the lottery. And all the men are looking at them wondering, what the fuck is going on here? Like deer in the headlights moment. Well, that's my version of events. George.
In reality, Satan was God's wife.
In reality?
Yes. So Satan is a woman and was God's wife. So she is the one who instigated Eve to disobey God and caused a revolution. You know, much like Raila in the current government, and the one before that, and the one before that, and the one before that. Yeah. So when all that mess happened, so the wife was chased away from the Paris. You know, God's casa. Mikasa is no longer your casa.
It's no longer so casa.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why there is always this divide, whether you go to God or you go to hell. Do you stay with your father or do you go with your mother? Satan is the mother of all evil. So when you repent and go back to the father and stop following your mother. When you see the light, you align yourself with the father and desert the evil of your mother. I'm only talking about Satan here. You know, the woman.
Wall up, nigga, wall up. Just, can you repeat that again? Just the whole statement.
God lived happily ever after with the wife, Satan, until he didn't. The wife appended him just the same way, you know, mine appended me in the garden of yours. And then she went and poisoned the fellow woman to disobey God. So when that happened, there was a divorce between God and his wife, Satan, the woman. And Adam and Eve were cast to follow their mother. And that's why when we repent, we go back to the Father. And we get saved from the hell of the mother, Satan. So you choose. Do you want to go to heaven with God, or do you want to stay in hell with your mother? So this salvation here. And because now God could not have a child with this evil woman, that's how he approached this earthling virgin girl, Mariam. Let's call her Mariam.
So you approached Mariam. It was like, Mariam, will you do this thing for me? Will you do me a solid?
Yeah, like a surrogacy, you know? And now he is the one bringing us, the generation of this evil woman, this evil bitch, back to God. In my father's house.
In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also. And where I go you know, and the way you know. Thomas said to him, Lord, we do not know where you are going. And how can we know the way? Jesus said to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
Come and get away from this hell of your evil mother, Satan, and enjoy the riches of heaven with my Father. I am from the Father. You know, there are some Africans who are brainwashed in the African region, and now they are praying to the African God for God to strike me with lightning and everything else, because they don't want to unravel any lie they have conformed themselves to believe, especially the revelation that Satan is a woman, God's wife, ex-wife.
So is Satan the woman, or Satan is a woman?
No, Satan is a woman, the original woman. The evil in her is what we call the devil. That's the one that is in every woman's psyche. And that's what the mission of the husband is, to save the woman from her own hell, because she cannot save herself. You know, she has the nature of the devil, the nature of Satan. It's not an insult, it's not derogatory, it's just that. So there is always this battle to save the woman from herself. And herself is the nature of her mother, Satan, with that evil that was added to her in now what they concealed in form of a parable of an apple. But it's that defiance. That's why you see these the defiance of a woman against her man. It comes so naturally, and she's just wrestling with all these things. It's not something she goes out there and say, "I'll defy my man, I'll disobey my man." It's a nature that she has to continuously remind herself that she needs to fight. because it was handed to her by Satan herself. But to belong back to the fold, to the right, to the light, she has to fight that evil. And now she needs the man. Save me from me. Save me from evil. And my phone is going to act up a little bit as I transition into the Wi-Fi in the house.
It's me again, Ja. What?
So that's the conflict within the woman.
But where are you getting this information from?
From the same place I got the information about Adam's sons had children with their sisters that you won't find in the Bible. And then, the people who wrote the Bible continuously, as time progressed and the social norms changed, so it had to be edited to remove the stigma of incest. So now, these African brainwashed Christians, they struggle with where did the sons of Adam get wives from? Because now that message, that reality was hidden for cultural norms convenience. So now they have to go into their imagination. Oh, maybe they traveled into another land and there were women there. And it's all in there. It's very simple. Cain had a twin sister. Abel had a twin sister. It's that simple.
They swapped.
Huh?
They swapped sisters or what?
Yes, but Cain wanted her own twin. That's the fight now between Cain and Abel. Was over. The other was over over Cain's real twin sister.
Bro, your story is crazier than mine, bro.
So one of the girls, her name was Awan, and the other one was Azura.
And where does Lilith come into the picture? Who is Lilith?
Oh, that's Mariam's imagination. They wanted to throw that in there to conform with the 21st century feminist woman.
So there's no Lilith in the picture?
Bro, that's a creation of the 21st woke woman. They needed a warrior attached to the defiance of a woman to say this is from the original woman.
Okay, so let's go slowly. So we have Adam, we have Satan, who is a woman, who is God's wife. And where does Eve come from?
No, the original story about Adam and Eve is SS. Let's make a man in our image, Adam. And then Adam wanted a mate, so they made her in the image of the Satan, the woman. And now it's only bad now because we have associated the word Satan with evil. But she was just a woman, just the original woman with the very nice boobs.
Uh-huh.
There was nothing negative connotation of it at the time.
So why did the story change? Or who changed the story?
Or Robert Bulale of those days.
He was like, no, we need to protect the woman.
Yes.
So the man
Can you
made
imagine?
made
Can
he,
you, if we go back and interrogate,
uh,
why was there a need to change the story that Cain and Abel had children with their twin sisters? Why was there a need for that? Because now the world had changed over, and now there was stigma associated with incest. So we could not. Now these the protectors of God, you know, the Robert Bulales and the Makariukis of those days, they're like, oh no, we cannot associate incest with God. But bro, we see Reuben fucking his father's wife. One of Jacob's wives, because Reuben is the eldest son with Leah. So he was so grown by the time all these other kids are being born. To a point, he slept with one of the bitches that belonged to Jacob. But now, all that is stigmatized now. So those are all the waves of the things that have changed in the Bible, and the stupid, brainwashed African is just following like a pig, believing everything that is thrown onto them, including that you can pray for rain.
but isn't it the same thing that you're doing by believing the Bible? And you, the same brainwashed, stupid African who is believing a story that was given to us.
No, I'm anaphering everything that the stupid African, brainwashed African has believed, because I am putting logic back in the Bible. I mean, let's forget everything else. Why was it necessary to hide that Adam and Eve had daughters? Forget about even what happened to the daughters. Why was it necessary to hide that they had 2 pairs of twins?
Yeah, but again, this information you're getting is from the same book that we
No.
got, that is the Bible. We're like, this is just new or different type of information, but it's still from the white man. It's not our information.
Well, Africans had no need for this God they are obsessed with now.
That story is a bit mbadala. It's a bit offside. Because that tells me now I have to believe a new story based on the old story that they tried to fix.
No, we have to go back and interrogate. Why were they hiding the old story? Cain's twin sister, her name was Akrima. Why were they hiding her?
But that would mean that I believe the story of the Bible.
And also, it also meant that they had to change the real story why Cain and Abel were fighting. They were not fighting over a sacrifice. They were fighting after Akrima. And now, to create harmony, they were ordered to go over a sacrifice. Because the logic was, it's just the two of you. So instead of you marrying the one that was in the womb with you, marry this other one and let your brother marry this. And now, because Cain was disgusted, no, the father had to come and say, we need to create a reconciliation. And what are we going to do? We're going to sacrifice to God to atone all these and get it behind us. But he was so mad that God rejected his sacrifice, because he was not doing it to reconcile anything. So he had to kill his brother to still get a Akrima.
So I have to believe the story to now believe this new version. That is my challenge right now, because I have to believe the story to believe that this is what happened.
Do you remember that profound statement that our board made sometimes back in November of last year, and said the reason Africans resist any new information about religion is because there is no plan B. If you unravel what they believe, then what do they have? So they have to blindly, continuously believe in what they believe and shut off any logic from the equation. But the reality is, Akrima was a twin sister of Cain, and Azura was a twin sister of Abel. And all these fights that led to the first murder was over Azura, Akrima.
So who changed the text? Who changed and said, this story does not make sense? Incest will not sit well with the people. Who changed the story, and when did they change it?
Exactly. Do you want... Is there any African Christian that want their God, the way they believed in him, to be associated with innocent? So you remember the original intent of Christianity is to apportion themselves as the protectors of God. That's why they killed Jesus. They were killing Jesus to protect God from this blasphemy of a 33-year-old guy. That's the whole intent of religion. They are putting themselves as the protectors of the dignity of God. So changing a text is the least they could do if they can go ahead all the way to killing this guy who is claiming to be God against their belief.
Because all they had to do to kill him was saying that he's blasphemed against God.
Yes, and they are now apportioning themselves as the protectors of God. This God has to be so weak that poor God-forsaken Africans are the one protecting him.
But I'm
So
still...
incense cannot go well with their God as they know him. I mean, look what is happening today. We can scream of all the evils of homosexuality and rape and sodomy, but we cannot touch the reality of all those things happening inside of the Catholic Church. There you cannot go. Right now, somebody is blowing a gasket when I associate the Catholic Church with rape and sodomy and gayism. But it's the core of the Catholic Church. Every church, in every corner of this planet, there is a boy being forced to suck the dick of the man of God dressed in white and a cross and silver and all that nonsense inside the church. But that we cannot say. So now we have to go look for the real evil of sodomy and homosexuality and rape and all this out there, but not here. You shall not speak evil of the anointed one of God. We have all these labels to shield ourselves from that which we cannot dare unravel. That is protected. So all these layers of protecting innocence and protecting the reality of the identity even of Satan as a woman, it's an agenda continuously. And that's not the end of it. I mean, if you come back into this planet 200 years from now, there will be a whole new distortion and you'll be like, no, that's not what we believed in 2023. They'll have changed it to something else. Probably they will say God was the woman. Now they will bring the identity of Satan as a woman, but then switch You see, God is the woman, and this evil is the man. Because men at the time now, 200 years from now, will be so wicked, it would make sense. But that's not why we are talking.
No, that's how I started the show. What are you saying, bro? That's exactly how I started the show with the question is the woman the devil? If you were listening on Rogue Radio, you would have heard me say
No,
that.
I wasn't. I listened to the music even before you took over Rogue Radio. And then I had a break. And then when I come back is right when I'm trying to get back in.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you are listening to me, bro. You are in that separate. That's exactly what I was asking. Is God the woman? I mean, sorry, is the devil the woman or?
She's the being, but now we cannot consume that information because, we have all the labels ready. Woman hater, misogynist, masculine toxicity, all that is thrown at weak men, and they fold like a cabbage in Kipipili.
Oh my goodness. Paul jumped on this when you started giving that story. Paul,
Gibbe,
what's happening? Long time, man.
long time. George, you've made this a philosophical Tuesday, and you are giving theology plus philosophy classes for free. Whatever you are sharing is very heavy to process. But these are true things that time has come for people to make sure that, for people to understand. You know, texts are written and some are hidden. And it is very hard to tell what is hidden unless you ask yourself questions outside the box. And this issue of creation it's a little bit hard than what we see, and as George you're putting it, based on the text that you get from outside. And even this issue of trying to remove the gender from God himself also will become a problem in the number of years you've said, 200-300 years to come. It will be a big problem.
Bro,
Because
Paul,
the reality...
Paul,
yes?
don't even go to 300 years. Right now, there's a church in England where the pastor was saying God is everything. God is transgender, he's homosexual, he's all these things. And now they're changing the image of God in our eyes.
Mariam shared that story when it broke up. I remember it.
Yes. And you see, we selectively read these texts, and the texts are wide and varied based on religion. So if people also don't read and look at these texts in the name of covering themselves within their religion, then we can also not learn the truth. Because this same God that they are saying is everything is the one who cast fire on Sodom and Gomorrah for the issues of homosexuality and lesbianism and all those behaviors. He is the same one. You get? And then we are still trying to make these ideologies to look like they are the best things and the right things. And God is also said to be a jealous God. God is someone who has his things and principles done in the right way. But we are raising a society that tends to believe you can do what you want, run away with it, and then still blame the devil. The things have to be done right. And there is no excuse about it. And this thing the position of the man should be upheld. There is no argument. And the moment we break that thing, everything will be lost. Remember in the desert when the Israelites, Moses went away for some time and told them to wait on God. Then they decided to make their own idols. And it was part of the reasons that they had to take even much longer time in the desert because they were disobedient. And then we think that we will have a society that will make meaning, that will be meaningful when we just disobey what we call nature, for lack of a better word. I think a call is coming in, it might disrupt me. But George, you put philosophy and theology together. That's what I can say.
And now, even going back there at in the wilderness, when men decided to make their own God because Moses took so long, right there, if you capture that, then bring it to 2023 Kenya. That's exactly where we are. at the behest of the president of the country, let's create our own image God that we can pray for and bring forth rain. Look at it. We have created an image God that conforms to our needs, requests, and desires. That is the image, the one that is going to bless me and not bless you. The one that is going to make my team win and you as lose. It's an image God. It's the one that conforms to your desires. The same one that was formed by these guys in the desert. And if you read that book, the length at which they had to, and you have to ask yourself, because religion takes away logic. But just for a moment, just unearth that for a moment. They had the technology to create fire hot enough to melt gold. And back up one moment, one step back. They were wearing golden jewelries. But they had to gather all the golds, and then they had the technology to have fire hot enough to melt the golds, and a cast that would hold the melted gold lava, whatever you want to call it, to form this image God for themselves, for them to worship. The need to have this image God that they could shift all their needs and desires and requests to, and 100% believe that which they ask of this image God that they have created, this image God of theirs is going to deliver. This image God of theirs is going to give us rain. But we have separated the image God when we are in Nyayo Stadium, listening to the president and his wife, talking to that image God to bed the rules of the science of rain. For us, only in that shape of a poor made chapati, piece of earth called Kenya. Right here, just in this piece of dirt, you, our image God, we believe in you so much that you are going to defy the science of rain. And only now, at this particular time, give us rain. It sounds blasphemous. It sounds as if I'm exaggerating it. But the same real, genuine belief that these people in the desert had of this image they just created from their beaches jewelry is going to conform to their desires. That this African Christian God is going to say, okay, hang on one moment. What is the tip of on the other side? Also, Uganda, are we setting lanes in Victoria, or only on the section of the water that belong to Victoria? And in the coast, make sure you avoid Lamu because we don't want rain in Somalia. Just here. And as much as the people in the desert with Moses believed that God would deliver, now in 2023, in Nyayo Stadium, led by our own modern day president, we are praying to that image God to shower rain to us. And we 100% are convicted that it's going to happen. in no shortcut or deviant manner at which the same people in the desert believed that that image God would deliver. Just think about that. Because we get swept into all this whirlpool of things happening. But that is exactly what we are doing. Asking our African God that we have created an image of in our heads through religious noise and brainwashing, that he is going to identify the outlines of this dirty piece of land called Kenya and only said rain there against the science of the formation of rain. And before I said that, you never thought about it. Your comments about that was, ask and shall be given. You have all these verses to you. Don't question the power of prayer. Bro, that's exactly what's happening in the desert. Why is that melted God so black and white to you, but you cannot see this one here?
Paul.
Yes, Kibe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, George, the philosophy and theology class is to the roof, and you've just brought it to context exactly. And now see the burden that our country is going to go through when we stop innovating, when we stop solving problems, and then make it a wishful thinking. But I also say something that you've been saying, George, which is very strong. A man is God. A man creates. And a woman can pray and pray, because when you pray to your man and ask your man to get something, the guy has to do the thing. No man or boy should be allowed to say something like manifesting and wishing. They have to get dirty and make things happen. But the moment we have the one who is supposed to solve problems folding his hands to pray, yet the one we are made to look like, God himself, took 6 whole days to create earth. And I make it complicated by saying, in his Bible, he says, or in his words, a day is like 1,000 years to God, and 1,000 years is like 1 day to God. So if he took 6 days to make, how long did he take to make and break? To a point he said, now the earth is fine. Let's now do the next thing. If we are in his own image, and we are the gods on earth, as George always puts it, I'm God, and good enough you are 2 in 1, and also the mother of all evil. Why would a man on earth fold his hand and say that he's praying? To who and to what? For what reason? Yet we have been given power to subdue and always look for people to blame. And we see it in the government that we now have. Political parties aside, there is one of the leaders I really came against. This lady who said that there is menstruation, is it what? Period shaming. And I was like, how can somebody be a legislator in a house and still behave as an activist? Because one thing I believe, activists do what they do to get attention of the leaders when they cannot hear. And they do the awareness for the leaders who are not aware. Now, somebody is in a house where they can raise issues in terms of debate, present a paper that is scientifically proven, show government where they can impose taxes and lower taxes so that pads can be affordable to women. And then somebody is walking around saying that there is period shaming. But this is also what I believe. When a lady turns 18, everybody around you believe that you are an adult, you should be able to carry yourself hygienically. And when they see the stain, they are annoyed by the stain and they shame the stain. But if you put yourself in good hygiene and have yourself cleaned up, nobody will even know that you're having periods. But what am I driving to is that we cannot have a leadership that folds hands trying to pray to someone else. Once you are in a leadership position, you are the problem solver. There is nothing like another God. You either create or leave the space. So, George, that thing, as you've said, in the wilderness and creating that golden God, we have these golden gods around us. Some of them are just political parties. And then we think that they will solve the problems. We are in deep problems, for lack of a better word, deep shit. Deep shit. We need this theology and philosophical classes properly so that people can understand it is not just about the text and following religion. We need to internalize some of these things and bring them to bear. And the way the two think, male and female, are totally different. A woman, you have a right to ask. A man, you do not manifest, you create. It may be painful to create it, but you have to. You have to. Thanks.
So all this is just in our imagination. It cannot be real, can it? It cannot be real because now we are trying to make sense of the story that was told to us. How can that be real? Because for you, Paul, when you talk about the lady who was talking about period shaming, that senator, it's a shame that we have allowed women to rule over us. It's the same thing that if you go back to the Bible, you see Adam allowed Eve to do, and she ruled over him, and he made her God. Because the person who rules over you is God. So the man should not have a woman ruling over him. Now we've made women rule over us, and women don't have the solutions. They have never had solutions. Women are supposed to look to the man for the solution. So this is a solution. We have to build, we have to construct, we have to break down and recreate. So we know exactly what needs to happen. So yes, I agree with some aspects of what George is saying, especially about like going to pray about for rain. That is just nonsense. But who are you following at that time when you people are praying for rain? It means that you have the nature of the woman. Because the woman prays and asks, give me. But the man doesn't ask because there's nobody to ask. You are right on that, Paul. The man has to create whatever it is that he wants. Men come together to build something and say, okay, we are building this. This is what we want to do. This is where we want to go. But women, on the other hand, wait for the man to create and then they can ask him. So it makes sense. But then again, the story is still coming from the West. The story is not an indigenous African story. Because if you look at the indigenous African stories, you'll find that, like, especially the Kikuyu. Because I know about the Kikuyu. I mean, the Kikuyu story is woman was elevated. Interesting.